This is Sky Sports.
This is a mud pit. You bring it to a boil by adding nitrous oxide, big block engines, and racing rubber. This potent mixture creates a unique brand of speed called mud bogging. We'll find out who has the ingredients for victory coming up next. This is Trucks and Tractor Power, featuring the all-stars of NMRO Mud Racing. Welcome to Trucks and Tractor Power on the Nashville Network. Today we're at Deer Creek Motorsports Park in Franklin, Georgia for NMRO Mud Racing. Hi everybody, I'm Gary Lee alongside Army Armstrong. And this event brings out the best in the country. They all come to the state of Georgia.
Well, they're coming from all over the country, literally. I think we have like 18 states represented here, but the big word we're going to be hearing today are the scooper tires. They get to really put these tires in these vehicles that actually claw at the track.
It's time to stake out your favorite vantage point here in the red Georgia clay. We're at Deer Creek Motorsports Park in Franklin, Georgia for the NMRO Championship Mud Racing. This, of course, is the open class featuring the paddle tires, the super scoopers, the bigger diggers, 200 feet of mud, a 600-foot shutdown area, and, of course, everything is electronically timed. But there's trouble. Army Armstrong, what's the problem?
Well, Gary, as you well know, there's hot streaks in any kind of sports, and motorsports is no exception. The guy on a roll, literally, in the sport of professional mud racing is Ron Pence out of Missouri. He'll be driving a truck that goes by the name of Tater. He's the guy to beat, but right now, he is literally up to his elbows in mud trying to get a drivetrain problem fixed. All the rest of the vehicles are in the staging lanes. He's on the clock. Stay tuned. Let's see if he can get into this action.
Well, Army, he has about 5 drivers ahead of him to run down through the mud, so perhaps he'll have time to get that problem fixed as we take a look at Joe Kenzer out of Woodstock, Georgia, in the big Chevy Corvette they call Bad Agent. Big block Chevrolet power plant, 605 cubic inches. And Army, he can really skate across the mud.
Well, he has an opportunity that no other driver has. He's drawing number 1 in the field. Look how smooth the track is in front of him, and you're right. He just tippy-toes on top of that mud, Gary.
He gets up on top of it for 3.01. 3.01. And that could be tough to beat.
You know, Gary, in drag racing, the magic time is 4 seconds. In this sport, it's 2 seconds. He goes first and gets a 3:01. We might see some 2-second shots before the day's over.
Well, she's taking her own shot right there as the home video camera, very popular at any motorsports event, as we take a look at Jerome Wood. Jerome drives the Dirty Dancing, featuring a Chevy 355 engine. Look at the concentration on his face.
27 Ford fiberglass body, Gary. Normally you see this type of a engine and body setup in the sport of drag racing. In the ET category, Jerome goes out hard.
Good run, excellent run. Look at that, the quick time at 2.97.
So we said the 2-second barrier might be busted here today. Second one out does it. Wow, what a run.
Let's take a look again, as once again he gets up on top of the mud. So perhaps today it's more advantageous to run early. And Army, you have caught up with Jerome Wood and his 27 Roadster.
Hey, you talk about a Jack the Giant Killer story. Look at here, a 297. Jerome just banks it out the back end with the small block Chevrolet. Why do you run the small block? You're the only one here today.
That's about all I can afford. You just have to run what you got, what you can afford.
Now, you've won other national events. You kind of like this role as being the underdog, but you've won some of the big events before. Can you win this one today?
I doubt it. There ain't no way. They'll be down in the 80s and possibly down like it was in 65s again. They'll be a lot faster times.
Mr. Wood has to work on his self-confidence there. As we take a look at a guy that has a lot of self-confidence, if he can get that vehicle ready, Ron Pence continues to work on Tater.
Yeah, but we did the opening. He was working on the drivetrain. Now he's gone to the front axle. He may have had more problems than we thought. Speaking of problems, look who's coming to the line now, Gary.
Legal Speed. This is Glenn Siebold, one of the home state favorites.
He was the local class champion on this track last year, so if anybody should have a feel for the track and be able to bump at 297, it could be this guy.
Oh, look at the wheelie he pulled off the line. Great hole shot, and look at that, he did it. 2.84. 284 for Legal Speed.
Wow, Gary, pulled the feet out of the water at about the 50-foot mark and powered it out, but I want you to look at the rear tires on how flat they are. You talked about the scoopers. That's why they can go so quick. Watch the front end power up and literally shoot it out the back end.
Yeah, they call those tires the bigger diggers. Well, coming up next is Tony Ferrotti, but right now, here's Army with Glenn Seabold.
Is there anything as a home track advantage in mud racing?
I don't think so. Maybe you get a little familiar with the track and all, but that's about it.
The chassis looked perfect. Just picked the front end up and walked it out. Is there anybody else in this class that can beat you today?
I'm sure there is, but I'm running a small engine and everything, but chassis is working real good.
Well, the hometown people are pulling for you. Let's see if you can stay on top of this thing.
We like that.
Carries that pin in his T-shirt so he can sign autographs after his run.
You know, Gary, I can't understand that. I've done 2 interviews with these guys that are quick, and both of them said they're not going to stay in the lead.
Lacks confidence, I guess, but they know how fierce the competition here is. We take a look at Tony Ferrotti, and let's boogie to another 27 T Roadster with Chevrolet power.
Whoa! Bangs the right side, bangs the timing lights on the other end.
He'll get disqualified.
Roadkill.
I guess. Bailing for hay out there. He's disqualified because he goes out of bounds.
Good camera shot. Watch the replay. It just hooked on him. Bangs in the wall, tries to power out.
At any point through a run, how much control does a driver actually have?
Gary, I don't know. I've talked to different fellows about it. You'll get different answers. Some of the guys will say, look, I just punch the button and hang on for the ride. It's kind of like a blue ticket ride at Disney World. Other guys can actually tell you different things they feel at different points of the track.
Well, Tony hooks a rut right here, gets out of trouble, but wisely stays on the power and drives it out of there.
But when you get a vehicle out of shape like that, there's really nothing you can do is just try to drive it out.
No, there's really not. Once it starts getting out of control, you try and keep it straight and get it back down in the center and finish the pass.
Well, you made a good run, you did some good driving, but when you came by here, here's some straw you left with us.
Yeah, we dropped a little bit of that on the way here.
You picked a whole lot of it up on the way down that way. I'm glad you're okay. We'll see you next time out.
Hey, thanks.
Well, of course, after any mud run, you have to wash them down. That's what Gary Osteen is doing now from the Daytona Beach, Florida area. One of the big stories earlier today was the mechanical problems of Tater. Ron Pence is due up next, and in fact, he is presenting Tater for his run.
You know, last year, Ron was basically a 3rd or 4th place finisher. This year, they come up with the new combination in the transmission department, and it seems to really work for him. He won the USA National Championship 2 weeks ago, and he also gets hooked in that rut. Oh, he's got problems for the rest of the field, Gary, for the rest of the day now.
Yeah, he's chewed up the end of that run. He almost turned that thing over, but he had to stay on the power to drive it out. The big Keith Black Chevy engine in the 1976 Chevy Love truck. And he has to be disappointed after working so hard to get that thing ready. Here's the guy, a few words with Army Armstrong.
Well, Ron, the vehicle really looked to me like it had a mind all its own out there.
Yeah, they go whichever way they want to sometimes.
What do you have any idea what caused it?
I don't think my front wheels was pulling. I think I was just running in 2-wheel drive.
So it was just pushing, and the front end wasn't trying to pull it straight.
Right.
There's a good look at Mike Fair, as Mike will be the next up out of Mishawaka, Indiana, upstate. Indiana, that's the time traveler, a 23 T-altered.
Mike, he's kind of the Jeff Gordon in this sport. You got a fast vehicle, you want to drive it, you lay the cards on the table, he'll come and drive it for you. Enough to see it. Kid's good,
yeah, but
not
quite his best. He's gone 264 before, but today at 3.17.
But the most important thing here, his run straightened those grooves out. Now everybody behind Mike has got a good, relatively straight track to run in, Gary.
The 1990 Phoenix City NMRO World Champion. As the crowd looks on, let's go down and talk to Mike Fair.
317 puts you 3rd right now.
Yeah, the track's getting, there's a pretty good track right down the middle, and that's about all you do is stick it in the middle and go for it. I had a little mud or rock in my chain drive there on the line, and I thought it might not work, but everything came all right, so I'm happy with that time.
And now we look at the Corvette. This is the Mud Shark, Mike Erdely, out of Buchanan, Michigan, a 1964 Chevrolet funny car with the Super Scoopers, the Cut Hogs, and the big 525 Keith Black Hemi.
Gary, this probably has to be one of the most noticed vehicles in mud racing. Follow the sport, you've heard of the Shark.
Also a member of the 2-second club, and he does it again, 2.90. That's good for second fast time.
Well, the vehicle in front of him literally straightened the track out for him. He just comes and rides in the ruts and goes to sub 3-second shot.
Well, it's still a tough ride as he pulls off the helmet. Armin, you have a chance to talk with the Mud Shark.
Mike, an awfully good run. 290 is the word we get. That makes you second quick for the afternoon.
Well, we'll take that one, Army. The track was a little rough on down there. I come unglued from the track a little bit, and it cost me a little, but the best we could do today.
Big smile on his face as we take a look at those super scoopers here in Franklin, Georgia. We have more coming up, so please stay with us. In Franklin, Georgia, as the open cut tire class continues, Glenn Siebold with his legal speed out in front at 2.84. Mike Ederle is second quick in Mud Shark, and third is Dirty Dancing, the driver, Jerome Wood. And coming up next, this is Chemical Reaction, a 27 T Roadster. The driver is Steve DeLue from Holland, Michigan.
Well, you talk about a good-looking rig. It's hard for people to realize these mud racers are as serious as they are about the appearance of their vehicles because they do get so muddy. But this is a fine-looking vehicle.
A little ragged there as he gets off to the right berm, and he will not be happy with that run as he turns in a 3.78. And as the driver said earlier, these vehicles have a mind of their own.
That's right. He actually backed on the throttle at this point in the run, kissed the wall, back into the throttle. You know, in order to go straight, you got to keep those front wheels pulling. That's what pulls you straight, Gary.
Well, the 3.78 certainly not as good as he has gone in the past. As the crowd looks on from the paddock area, look at the motorhomes. These guys do travel in style. As we take a look at one of the most expensive rigs ever, this is George Gregory, the New Breed. It's home-built, handcrafted, the Roadster featuring a 496 Janky power plant. George, the 1990 NMRO Open Class National Points Championship.
Confidentially, fella enjoys flying.
Well, he's flying there across the mud. 2.89. Ever so close, but not quite close enough. That is second fast for New Breed.
Well, instantly that vehicle comes out, but look at the ground clearance he has compared to some of these other vehicles, Gary. I think that's got to be a definite advantage for him.
And the veteran from Tyler, Texas is standing by with Army Armstrong.
Well, Siebold stays on top with a 284, but your 289 is right on his tail.
I went further. Car handled, we got into the ruts, but it come back and we didn't DQ. I'm happy, we didn't blow the motor.
And George uses a lot of shutdown area, but anytime you can put a vehicle back on the tow rig with all four wheels hanging on it, it's been a good day. Well, there's a look at a mountain motor from Sonny's, the heartbeat of America, Mike Thomas. Mike, of course, one of the real veterans here, along with his dad.
Now, Mike's a second-generation driver. You brought up the name Sonny. That's interesting. What Keith Black is to California horsepower, Sonny's is to the East Coast. And this kid is not afraid of anything. Look at that.
He got the front end up in the air on top of the mud, a 3.05 for Mike Thomas.
Good run for the second-generation driver. He and his dad really a credit to the sport. And he is another one of these young lions coming into the sport, Gary.
As we take a look at Mike from the rear view, coming up next, Larry D'Antoni, Gulfport, Mississippi, the Team Power Pro 23 altered, the big 500 cubic inch Keith Black engine.
Motor's real fast. You can see the rippling on each side of the engine that says he's running a whole lot of fuel through it. Wow. Whoa.
Little trouble in the shutdown area. Good run, though, at 3.03. He had his hands full. Look at him working that cockpit.
The Pro Power chassis really worked well for him. I think it just powered itself over. He's pumped up, too. A new driver, a new car, a new combination, and it works.
Yeah, the first outing this weekend for the brand new race vehicle, and he has the attention of Mike Ederle and some other competitors as we take a look at Marty Jackson in Bow Up out of Duluth, Georgia, just north of Atlanta. And look at the safety equipment he's not wearing. No Simpson driving shoes or gloves. The visor's not even down on his helmet. He has a pair of tennis shoes on.
You know, these guys run nicely. This could be a volatile situation. Hopefully nothing's going to happen. It's a fiberglass rim coat. The Jeep body. Let's see him. Whoa, there you go now.
He has the trouble right there. A fire on board as he blew it up. Well, once again, if
he still has a fire in the engine, Gary.
Yeah, he does, but I'm concerned about these drivers not wearing some of the safety precautions.
Another explosion.
And once again, no fire shoes, no driving shoes, no gloves.
Maybe the safety committee needs to sit down and talk about this. It's there's some potential there, definitely, for some danger, especially with the amount of horsepower these guys are making. And we're not chipping at anybody. It's a motorsport. It's progressing, but maybe they need to take their safety standards up just a notch higher, Gary.
Coming right at you, and watch the explosion in the, well, it developed in the underbody of that vehicle and then belched up through the carburetor. Army Armstrong and Gary Lee back at Franklin, Georgia, and coming up is Michael Atkins in his dragster, and earlier today, Army had a chance to talk with him.
Well, Gary, the hot topic in the pit area all afternoon today has been the tire combination, what type of groove, what type of wedge to run, but I'm saying where the guy's got a whole different theory. You think, Mike, that you can beat these guys with two-wheel drive only?
Yeah, I do. Basically, it's like two-wheel drive, but it is four-wheel drive. Our engine's in the back, where most of the rear and the weight and traction's on the rear tires. My front tires have basically no tread on them. We don't think we need any traction up there to do it.
Well, Gary, let's find out. He says it's only going to take two to tango today in Georgia.
Well, he'll have it in four-wheel drive as we take a look at that good-looking dragster out of Orlando, Florida, with the big block 540 cubic inch Chevrolet power plant.
Gary, what he'll do is roll about 2 feet and punch the nitrous button. He'll rely on that big wing on the back to push those rear tires in.
He's done it. Has he done it? Oh, he's close. No, look at that. 285. 285. Glenn Siebold had a 284. He just missed the top spot.
I'll tell you what, though, this guy opened some eyes with that run, a 285, and it was smooth. See, what he wants to do is pick the front end up. That's exactly where he is.
He's skimming across the mud, a 285, a good run, but only good enough for second right now.
Boy, that's a rough ride. That camera angle really shows you what a beating those guys take here.
Well, it's also a short ride when you're going that fast. Coming up next, Chad Miller out of Vandalia, Ohio, a suburb of Dayton.
You're from that part of the country and you can get out in mud with motors. You know you got to be making some horsepower. That's big sprint car country up there, isn't it?
Oh, indeed it is. This is a 509 cubic inch Rodec power plant in the Instant T. Another excellent ride for Chad Miller at 2.93.
27 Roadster. He had that rascal on rock and roll, didn't he, Gary?
Coming right at you. Now take a look at how rough this ride is. Look at his head bounce. Oh, those neck muscles will feel that tomorrow morning. Well, we're coming up to our final competitor here at Franklin, Georgia, Tom Meents. And he drives the Shake Me, a 32 Ford Roadster with the big Keith Black engine.
Gary, this kid's the last of class. Even Glenn Siebold, the class leader's walking over to watch him on this one. They could have saved the best for last. 284 is a quick time. Meeks sitting on the line.
Oh, look at him skim across the mud. An excellent ride. He does it. He does it.
Left side, that's 276.
Can you believe that, Army Armstrong? Tom Meeks out of Paxton, Illinois, in that 32 Ford Roadster, the last competitor, and he takes the championship here at Deer Creek Motorsports Park.
Went over to the left side of the track, over to no man's land. Nobody's been there all day long, and it flat worked for him. A 276. That is unbelievable, Gary Lee.
Well, Glenn Siebold had the lead, had to watch the rest of the field, and the last driver to go, Tom Meents, takes the victory with Shake Me. Glenn Siebold in Legal Speed was second, and Mike Atkins in the Stinger Dragster coming up third. Let's go talk with some of our competitors, Army.
Well, we ran into a lot of drama today on the Georgia-Alabama border. It was between a hometown boy, Glenn Siebold, who looked like you were going to hold on to this thing. You looked super strong until the final bullet nailed you.
Yes, I was proud of it, but I guess I need a little more motor, maybe a new sponsor or something. I hadn't got a lot of sponsor help.
Well, I'll tell you, you looked awfully good. All the hometown folks were really proud of you. And right now, we're going to swing over here. Thanks a lot for coming over and being with us. Tom, it was dramatic. Last shot, bumpy ride. It looked like a rocket ship, but it worked for you.
Yeah, the motor really come on strong, and I have to just thank my crew a lot for that. They really helped me out a lot.
Who picks what lane you're going to run in out there? Everybody's talking about bad track, bad track, bad track. It looked like a good run for you.
Well, I don't hardly watch the lane all day until I pull up there, because until then, it doesn't really matter.
Well, when the dust settled in Georgia, Shake Me was the man on top.
And our congratulations to Tom Meents. Well, that will wrap it up from Deer Creek Motorsports Park here in Franklin, Georgia. For Army Armstrong, I'm Gary Lee. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week on Trucks and Tractor Power.
When it comes to the big sporting event,